Leaving the golden palace behind, Dharanidhar flew hard and far, straight into the setting sun, so the golds would not be able to see where he went. Darkness fell, but as a prisoner in his own mind, Kanvar hardly noticed. Dharanidhar controlled his eyes, his body, and his mind, making the shield his father had put up around him seem like a comfortable blanket on a cold night in comparison. Kanvar was too shocked to try and fight Dharanidhar's control. The full realization ate into him. He'd sacrificed his freedom to the blue dragon. Dharanidhar's mind was so much stronger and more experienced than Kanvar's that Kanvar would remain enslaved to Dharanidhar for the rest of his life. He could only hope Dharanidhar would keep his part of the bargain and free Devaj so Kanvar's sacrifice wouldn't be useless. "It will not be useless, little Naga," Dharanidhar said. "We made a bargain, and I do not go back on my word. Why is your eyesight failing? Everything is turning dark." "It's night time." "Of course it's dark," Kanvar answered. Dharanidhar's mind spun, trying to understand what Kanvar meant. Kanvar remembered that great blue dragons hunted at night. He'd never thought about it before, but that meant blue dragons' eyes could see in the dark. Kanvar laughed. "Nagas can't see in the dark," Kanvar said. Dharanidhar tilted in flight, dropped down into a large clearing in the jungle, and set Kanvar on the ground, releasing his body to move of its own volition but maintaining his hold on Kanvar's mind. Kanvar staggered a few steps away from the dragon. The fever had left him, and his chest no longer itched and burned. He felt weak and dizzy. The heavy air settled into his lungs, but his heart beat strong and steady. Dharanidhar growled in annoyance at having to stop for the night. His growl disturbed a lesser green dragon which rose in front of Kanvar, squealed, and bolted. Dharanidhar grabbed the frightened green up in his jaws and shook it, snapping its neck. Then he dropped it on the ground beside Kanvar and bit into the dragon's flesh, savoring a meal after going so long without food. "Eat," he told Kanvar. "We'll both need our full strength when we face Abhavasimha." Kanvar gagged and backed away from the dead green dragon. "What's the matter with you?" Dharanidhar demanded. "Humans can't eat raw meat," Kanvar said. He formed a picture in his mind of roast chicken, turning on a spit over the fire. Growling in annoyance, Dharanidhar let out a spurt of blue fire, searing a portion of the green dragon. "Better?" he asked. "Yes. Thank you," Kanvar said. The smell of roasted meat made Kanvar's mouth water. He was hungry. He ate the hot meat while Dharanidhar finished his own meal. Dharanidhar sat back and settled his thoughts deeper into Kanvar's mind, experiencing for the first time the feel and taste of cooked meat as Kanvar consumed it. Dharanidhar said as Kanvar stuffed himself, "Maybe that's not so bad." "It's a lot better than eating meat raw," Kanvar said. Dharanidhar snorted and curled up on the ground. "If we can't fly in the dark, then we might as well sleep. Stay close to me. The jungle isn't safe at night." A sudden jerk woke Kanvar from a sound sleep. He found black coils wrapped around his chest, pulling him away from Dharanidhar. The pale dark just before sunrise hung in the air. "Help!" he cried. Dharanidhar came awake with an angry roar. His mind crashed in on Kanvar's as it had when they'd bonded. Dragon thoughts, dragon senses, and very angry dragon emotions crushed Kanvar's sense of his own self. Dharanidhar made Kanvar twist his head to see what had hold of him. He was stunned to recognize Indumali. The great black serpent was a long way from his river. Dharanidhar roared and lunged for Indumali, planning to grab him, break his spine, and tear his head off. But Indumali snapped around in a quick strike, not at Dharanidhar, but at Kanvar. He stopped with his fangs next to Kanvar's throat. "Your saliva won't save the boy if I finish this bite," Indumali said to Dharanidhar. Dharanidhar froze with one claw wrapped around Indumali's coils. Kanvar's heart fluttered in panic. He broke out in a cold sweat. "Indumali, please. Don't," he said. "Sorry, little one," Indumali said. "I have orders from Rajahansa. I should have known Amar would see his own son killed before they allowed a blue dragon the Naga powers," Dharanidhar growled. "If you kill the boy, I'll take you into death with us. Release him. I'm fully willing to die for my king." Indumali tightened the coils around Kanvar. "But that's not what he wants. Not the boy's death nor yours." Blue fire seethed behind Dharanidhar's bared teeth. "What does he want?" Indumali's jaw clamped down a fraction more, so the tips of his fangs almost broke through Kanvar's skin. "He demands the boy's freedom." Dharanidhar pulled his claw away from Indumali. "Impossible. The bond cannot be undone. Everyone knows that." "Not freedom from the bond," Indumali said. "Freedom from your mind. The Nagas are not slaves. They are equal partners, to be treated with respect. You should never hurt him with your mind." Never force him against his will. Raja Hansa demands your solemn vow to free the boy's mind and leave it unharmed, or you both die. Freedom or death. Your choice. Dharanidhar opened his jaws as if willing to sear both Kanvar and Indumali rather than relent to Raja Hansa's demands. We don't want to die, Kanvar whispered into Dharanidhar's mind. You and I are both too stubborn to end it now. Just tell Indumali what he wants to hear. None of it matters once he's gone. But Dharanidhar wasn't listening to Kanvar. His mind slipped into a vivid memory. He was a young dragon, just come into his prime. Confident and defiant, he had fought his way through the ranks of the blue dragons, and that morning killed the previous blue leader. Blood and triumph sung in his veins. The whole pride bowed to him and waited on his every command. Then, out of a cave at the base of the cliffs where the blue dragons nested, came the Ancient One. Few had seen him in the last 100 years. He seldom came out of his cave anymore. It was the lowest dragon's duty to hunt and bring him food, but all the pride revered him, Akshara, the great liberator. Scars left long ago from heavy chains around his feet, claws, and neck looked ghastly in the light of day. His wings dragged behind him, unusable. Dharanidhar, the Ancient One, called him down from the high rock where he had spread his wings in triumph and bellowed his victory. All the dragons fell silent, gazing between their new leader and the dragon who had bought their freedom from Stone Fountain many years before. Dharanidhar flew swiftly to land in front of Akshara. He bowed low. His victory and new position forgotten in the sudden honor of being called to Akshara's feet. Akshara spoke so only Dharanidhar could hear his thoughts. You have accomplished a great thing today, rising to the top. I'm proud of you. Long have I watched you grow and progress. You have the capability of being the greatest leader we have ever had. Or you could destroy us all. Your forebearers paid a great price for our freedom. Many died to bring us safely to these shores. I commend you to freedom, Dharanidhar. You must fight for it always. Never surrender to slavery. Never use your own power and position to enslave others. This I require of you as you take command. Your oath forged from the battle cry that saved us from oppression. Freedom or death. Freedom or death, Dharanidhar said, bowing lower in acceptance of Akshara's demand. I swear it. I will fight to maintain our freedom to the very last breath of my body. I will not destroy what you have given us. Dharanidhar's mind snapped away from Kanvar's, leaving Kanvar suddenly alone with his own thoughts except for Dharanidhar's connection to Kanvar's sight. I swear it, Dharanidhar told Indumali. Kanvar will be free. On my life and honor. Indumali hissed and eased his fangs away from Kanvar's neck. The great coils loosened from around Kanvar's body. Indumali shot off into the trees at the same moment that Dharanidhar blasted the air with his fiery breath. Indumali was faster, and Dharanidhar only managed to singe the end of his tail. Dharanidhar growled in annoyance. You tried to kill him even though he let me go, Kanvar protested. Dharanidhar licked his teeth, wishing he could have sunk them into Indumali's hide. I didn't promise to let him go alive, only to free your mind. Dharanidhar lowered his head to look Kanvar in the eyes. But all Dharanidhar saw was his own face. Like looking into the mirror. He couldn't see Kanvar while Kanvar stared at him. He only saw himself. He tried to picture what Kanvar looked like, but the only time he'd seen Kanvar was the flash moment that Kanvar had come out from behind Devaj's back to stab Dharanidhar in the eye. Sorry about that, Kanvar said. I couldn't let you kill my brother. No. It seems you would do anything to save him, Dharanidhar grumbled. Did I hurt your mind? Indumali seemed to think I was torturing you. Heat rose to Kanvar's face. He didn't want to admit that he had been so weak and sensitive to the power of Dharanidhar's mind. But he found lying to Dharanidhar as difficult as lying to himself. Yes, I see I did hurt you. Dharanidhar let a spurt of hot breath into the sky. I was angry. I let my hate for Raja Hansa and his followers cloud my judgment. I took my anger out on you. He paused as if the admission came hard for him. I am sorry. Kanvar shrugged. I was angry too. Angry because I'm crippled. Furious that it bothered them so much. Rays of sunlight fanned across the sky and tipped over the ridge, spreading down into the edge of the trees where Kanvar and Dharanidhar stood. It's nice to see the sunrise, Dharanidhar murmured. I haven't watched it with full sight since the Murnis first came to this continent. Thank you for bonding with me. Truth is, I don't know how not to hurt your mind. It is so fragile. Kanvar laughed. I thought my mind was the strongest part of me. It always kept working even when other bits of me slowed things down. He rubbed his short left arm and stared off into the charred greenery where Indumali had gone. I hope Indumali makes it back to the river before the sunlight filters through the trees. I hope he doesn't, Dharanidhar said. The wretched worm. Raja Hansa's little footlicker. Too stupid to recognize we're free from the gold dragon's oppressive rule. Dharanidhar let another spurt of flame into the trees as if he still had a chance to toast Indumali alive. I'm just fine. Indumali's thoughts drifted back to Kanvar. I have a dark place to stay until nightfall. Can't tell you where it is since you're bonded to that savage oaf. Dharanidhar growled. Kanvar rubbed his aching head and formed a shield around the private parts of his mind like Parmvar had taught him to. I need your eyes, Dharanidhar grumbled. Please look around so I can find some vines to tie you onto my neck. I need your eyes closer to my head, and I can't risk you falling. Kanvar realized the blue dragon did not have the same natural seat for a Naga to ride on that the golds did. Together he and Dharanidhar rigged a saddle and harness so Kanvar could sit securely on his neck behind his head without any chance of falling. On Dharanidhar's neck, Kanvar flew effortlessly across the blue expanse, soaring, instead of shuffling through the dirt, dragging his left leg behind him. The wind bit his face and rushed past his ears. The great oomph of Dharanidhar's wings, and the undulating movement of the dragon's body beneath him made Kanvar's heart leap. He lost himself in the exhilaration of speeding across the sky. Though the ride was much rougher than it had been on Raja Hansa, Kanvar enjoyed it more. Now this is real freedom, Kanvar thought to Dharanidhar. I wish we could stay up here forever. The joy of flight filled Kanvar to overflowing. His connection to Dharanidhar banished the gnawing emptiness and loneliness Kanvar had felt all his life. He had felt it more acutely after he got the fever, but now that Kanvar was complete, he recognized that he'd always been a shadow. He'd always felt like half a man. He had attributed that to his infirmities. Now he knew differently. Before he'd bonded, he'd been an empty glass. A sword without a sheath. A broken pot, desperately looking for his other half. Now he had found it. He had Dharanidhar. He cared little for the fact that his life would only last as long as Dharanidhar's, and Dharanidhar was already past his prime. With his new bond, Kanvar's soul was complete. Every moment, every breath he took, he felt more alive than ever. He'd descended into despair and had been reborn, perfect and whole. Dharanidhar growled in mockery of his sentiment. Keep thinking like that, and I'll believe you are a poet instead of a dragon hunter. I don't care, Kanvar said. Kanvar spread his arms as if they too were wings and shouted for joy. I'm flying. I'm flying free. Dharanidhar laughed at him, but Kanvar knew he felt the same way about suddenly gaining full sight after so many years of clouded vision and the shock of living in utter darkness for a few days. Dharanidhar reveled in the clear image of the trees below him. I feel young again, Dharanidhar rumbled. Young enough to teach that foolish upstart, Abhavasimha, a permanent lesson. Kanvar shuddered at Dharanidhar's memory of the feel of Abhavasimha's claws in his chest, and Dharanidhar's outrage that the younger dragon had attacked him without the traditional challenge and out of sight of the rest of the pride. Abhavasimha would pay for that. Dharanidhar soared up and rounded a mountain peak. Then flapped down to land on a precipice overlooking a high valley. They'd come up into the mountain range and left behind the dense jungle for sparser vegetation. Patches of grass spread out across the rocky ground. A sapphire lake sat at the edge of the basin, reflecting the cliffs that towered above it. Dark slashes in the rock face marked the caverns claimed by members of the Blue Dragon Pride. Dharanidhar rolled his shoulders and stretched his wings. The left one still ached where it had broken against the mountain. But it had healed well, and Dharanidhar was pleased that it had not been permanently damaged. I wish human bones healed that fast, Kanvar said. Don't they? Dharanidhar questioned. By the fountain, no. It would have taken a couple of months for my arm to heal if I'd broken it like that, Kanvar said. He remembered how quickly Devaj's wounds had healed after Dharanidhar had attacked his gold dragon. Well, maybe I'll heal faster now. More like a dragon. Do you think? I certainly hope so. Dharanidhar scraped his front claws against the cliffs to sharpen them. Abhavasimha won't be that easy to defeat. He's had plenty of practice in battle, and he's watched my fighting style for years. Are you still secure? If you fall, we're both doomed. I won't be able to see to catch you. Kanvar checked the vines that held him to Dharanidhar's back. Yes. I'm tied down tight. Where is everyone? Kanvar could see dragon tracks down by the water, but other than that the valley seemed empty. Sleeping off dinner, Dharanidhar said. His stomach growled. It's a good time for us to fight while we're lean and hungry. Not so good for Abhavasimha, who is likely fed just a few hours ago and will be full and lethargic. Well, it's time to interrupt their morning nap. Dharanidhar lifted from the cliff and flew across the meadow to a ledge above the lake. He directed Kanvar's eyes to a hole in the rocks near the topmost reaches of the largest cliff. That's my home. Abhavasimha's up there. And Devaj? Kanvar asked. Most likely, Dharanidhar said. He stretched his front claws, preparing to call Abhavasimha out. I wish you were invisible, my little friend. It could prove interesting explaining your presence to the other dragons. Your plan to rescue Devaj this way only works if they don't think Rajahansa has sent us. Kanvar gritted his teeth. Abhavasimha had threatened to kill Devaj if Rajahansa sent someone to rescue him. Don't worry, Dharanidhar rumbled. We'll get this started quickly and not waste time with a lot of words. Once the fight begins, everyone's attention will be on us, not Devaj. Dharanidhar reared up on his hind legs, spread his wings, and let out a guttural roar that shook his whole body and rattled Kanvar's bones. The roar rolled away across the valley and echoed back from the mountaintops. Kanvar sensed the dragon's mind snap awake. Dharanidhar roared again, and the pride of dragons came out. The older ones lumbering to the entrance of their caves, blinking in the sunlight. The young ones zipping out of their holes like a flock of blue bats. The entrance to Dharanidhar's cave stayed dark and empty. Dharanidhar roared again. Abhavasimha, I have returned. I challenge you for rightful leadership of the pride. Kanvar felt the surprise of the dragons around him. Their thoughts tumbled through his mind. Dharanidhar has returned. Abhavasimha said he was blind. Why does he have a Naga with him? An answering bellow came from the high cave, and Abhavasimha swooped out. He perched on the top of the cliff looking down at Dharanidhar. Dharanidhar growled deep in his throat, assessing his opponent. The higher-ranking dragon always gets the advantage of height at the beginning of a fight, he told Kanvar. Few young dragons ever figure out how to use the lower ground to turn the fight their own way. Abhavasimha looked splendid and invincible with the morning sunlight reflecting off his chest. He had few scars compared to Dharanidhar and none on his chest. It is not customary or comfortable for blue dragons to battle in the morning, Dharanidhar told Kanvar. Like attacking humans at night. But see, from Abhavasimha's high position, the sun is in his eyes. We have the sun at our backs. Note his chest. He's good at guarding it. It is almost impossible to kill an enemy from the flank. Deadly strikes must go to the neck, chest, or gut. In that order of preference. No one has come even close to those marks on Abhavasimha. But then he has not fought me before. Abhavasimha reared up, spread his wings, and roared. Dharanidhar, you blind fool. You'd have been wise to stay in exile. Now I will kill you. I accept your challenge. Kanvar had read in Ross's book that the blue leaders could not refuse a challenge unless they wanted to give up their position in disgrace and leave the pride. Then we will fight, Dharanidhar said. He dropped down to all fours, tensed, and pulled his wings into his sides. This is where the young ones make their most fatal mistake, he whispered to Kanvar. They launch themselves into the air to start the attack. But from the ground they cannot attain the same momentum as the higher dragon. Abhavasimha dived from the cliff toward them, but pulled up midway and circled when Dharanidhar did not rise to meet him. What is this person who rides you? Abhavasimha demanded. My eyes, Dharanidhar said. He remained hunched down, ready to launch himself. He watched Abhavasimha circle above through Kanvar's eyes. Abhavasimha shuddered with rage. You've betrayed us and joined the enemy. You've come here for Rajahansa. You've allowed a Naga to ride you? That whipped the other dragons into a fury. They spread their wings and leapt into the air to join the attack on Dharanidhar. No. Kanvar shouted into their minds. Dharanidhar has not betrayed you. I have betrayed Rajahansa and Amar, my father. They wanted to force me to bond with a gold dragon, but I escaped them and have bonded with Dharanidhar instead. The power of the Nagas has come to the blue dragons. Kanvar felt a rush of fear and denial hit Abhavasimha. A prince of the royal line, bound to you, Abhavasimha bellowed. Yes, Dharanidhar answered. Are you having second thoughts about accepting my challenge? Since you so kindly granted me exile, I will give you the same option. Fly away now, and I won't kill you. Abhavasimha let out a furious roar and dived at them. Dharanidhar chuckled. I love fighting enemies when they're in a blind fury.